Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8-5. And 8-5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my thing used, and 8-5, this is 7 November, Charlie. 8-5 right now. Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, reference to your last, you're Brandon 158, extra 5 stops, 1200 between teams and local. Also request your unit take extra method to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8 for pause to the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf. My unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha, Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Hey, I never took a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8-5. And 8-5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go.
Hey, thanks for making it to our live event. We got all three of us here. We have David here from VA Housing Education, along with myself and Clay. So we're streaming this on multiple different channels. Thank you to everybody who is watching. We really do appreciate you. I'm going to front load this with, we are going to be picking out many questions in the chat. So make sure that if you have a question, throw it out there. We brought David on, well, quite frankly, because 3 heads are better than 1. And it's just, look, there's so much out there that's changing and moving. It's moving targets all over the place. And so we want to bring you all of the information and expertise out there with regard to VA benefits, all of them, to include VA home loans. So David, I am so glad you made it. Look, hey, if you were watching this, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. David, my question to you, just right out the gate, while we're letting folks throw some questions out there, is there is always movement on top of movement in the industry. Can you give us kind of a pulse on the market? What's happening out there? What are some things people should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so thanks again for having me on, guys, and welcome everyone that's joining us. So today the Fed met. So it's a big deal because they're kind of letting us know how the economy is doing. Are they changing the Fed funds rate? And that affects us overall, right, from a lending perspective, day-to-day perspective. So Clay, can you share that screen that I put up? So what I'm going to share with you guys is going to be the 10-year treasury, which is what mortgage companies, well, one of the factors mortgage companies use to determine where interest rates are going to be. So in essence, today, the Fed did not change their rate that they currently hold. They say they may drop it once or twice throughout the year, but we're going to see what that is. But when you look at some of these charts, and if you look online, like I'll read one article like mortgage rates have dropped, and then I look, I'm like, they're the same, or they went up. And then you read another article like mortgage rates are going sky high, and then I'm like, they really haven't changed again. So what I and when you look at graphs like this, you're thinking like, man, this is the end of the world, until you zoom in and you're like what up here you're at 4.32 to 4.245. Like that's the drop right there, right? And so when you look at data here, like hey, like mid and like towards the end of last month and where we're at now, rates are still a little bit higher, right? And so that's a question I get all the time. Like, David, I saw rates drop. Can we do something right now? I'm like, where did you see that? Because a lot of times veterans will see things online. They'll be like, okay, like they'll get marketed to, and I just caution you with that. Now, if you guys are looking to see where, like what I'll look at, and I'll share this all the time, is where are mortgage rates. I just use Mortgage News Daily because they'll show you kind of like, hey, what the average is across the country for lenders charging, getting what interest rate you can get. But this, I don't think this includes like what discount points and origination fees are. So if you're somewhere around this rate, right? So for example, like right now being around 6.2, you're good, like 6.125, 6.25, right? So in essence, that's kind of like giving you an indicator around that. So, and I'll just kind of pull this up so you guys get an idea, because people think that the markets shift all the like crazy, and it's really not that bad of a deal. But here you see in the last month and a half, rates kind of went from about 6.5-ish to where they're at 6.2. So really don't see like a insane movement in the rates. Let's just say about a quarter of that. But what we do see continue to go up is equity or the price of properties continue to go up. So the longer you wait, the higher you pay for the same asset, even if rates drop. So, and overall from that, I'm good on that slide. Thanks, Clay. Appreciate it. And then basically, Chairman Powell basically said that from an economic perspective, things are very good, and from a consumer side of what they think, right, from their surveys, that it's very bad. And most people right now are noting the tariffs and what impact that's going to have. But even they came out and said like, hey, long-term effects, they're not really seeing that it should affect too much. So
Yeah.
thank you. I know that was long-winded. Because
no, that's perfect. That's good. And just to kind of round this out a little bit, since we're talking numbers and crazy graphs, which I have nothing. Clay, can you pull up that page that I sent you? I appreciate it. I didn't send him one. So here's my graph. Just want to throw out to everybody the COLA prediction or projection look, it's not going to really come out until October. They're going to utilize the last 3 months. So July, August, September, last 3 months of the fiscal year or the third quarter of the calendar year. But right now, as of today, we're looking at a 2.2% based on the CPI current data out there for the CPI-W. Now, there has been information out there trying to call for a different indice to be used. That would be the CPI-E, which is the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. That hasn't really taken root, so it's still using the CPI-W. But that's where we're sitting as far as that's concerned. And another quick update that I'm going to throw out there, that I'm going to kick it over to Clay, is I know that I have seen a lot of questions regarding the Richard Starr Act, the Major Richard Starr Act, and what's happening with that. It fizzled out last year. It was the end of that. So what we are looking at now, I actually called DC and spoke with the staffer there that's handling that specific legislation, and they said that they are planning to reintroduce it this year. It hasn't been reintroduced yet, but that's the process. That's what needs to happen with this new Congress. They need to reintroduce it, and they are fully intending to reintroduce the Richard Starr Act. There was so much momentum behind that last year. I'm surprised that it didn't go, because they had the support in the Senate. They had the support in the House. The only thing I could think of is, for some reason, the executive office, right, the president at the time, for some reason, didn't like something in there. So now, hopefully, we can get it to go again and see what happens. So, Clay, over to you. Do you have any questions yourself, or did you find any yet?
Oh, we got lots of questions, and I do want to add on to the Major Richard Starr Act. When it comes to any pieces of legislation that's going to make the government spend more, right now might not be the best time. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Major Richard Starr Act or anything else gets pushed maybe a year, still within that 2-year time frame, but definitely not anytime soon. And that's just my blanket idea, not from any data or at all. But hey, we have a new member who joined. I have no idea which channel you joined, but if it helps one, it helps all. Definitely appreciate that. Phil York, welcome to the team. All right. Starting off, we have a Mural Streeter. Thank you for asking a question. If there's no questions, there's no live Q&A. Just keep that in mind, all right? So I was recently denied drop foot letters that I previously applied before. I never tried to go for drop foot, but you did apply for your right foot. I'm sorry, your big toe on your right foot. Do you think that's what the VA is talking about? So one, we don't have your decision letter, but I can probably guess what's happening. Whenever you submit a claim for your right toe or your right foot, the VA is going to examine everything on that right foot. Plantar fasciitis, flat foot, whatever it is, your records are telling the VA to examine, right? And this is assuming you have an absolute stellar adjudicator on that claim that's really doing their due diligence. And so long story short, you need to do a supplemental claim. And if you have a current diagnosis, which I assume that you also do not have, just based on how you worded this comment here, I would absolutely get a current diagnosis. I always say no diagnosis, no claim. Point blank, period. It doesn't get more simple than that. Jason, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just going to double down on that. I think that, one of the things that we think is that, the VA has all these doctors and hospitals and clinics. They should help a brother or sister out and get us diagnosed for the issue. It's not what happens. You're actually working with the benefits administration, not the healthcare administration. And we often conflate the two. So,
yeah, I got one for David, though.
Perfect.
From Pablo Cancino, and I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. It says 2 parts. Any changes to VARRL refinance? Is this a good time?
That is Pablo. Thank you so much for the question. So for folks that don't know what a VARRL is, it's an interest rate reduction refinance loan when you already have a VA home loan. So because I do get a lot of questions of like, hey, I want to do this IRRL, but I got a conventional loan. Then it's a whole different product. Okay. So the way the IRRL works is that it's designed for you to be able to refinance and save on your monthly payment. The pros of it is that you have to at least save 0.5% on your interest rate, and you have to recover your closing costs, which typically is going to be like title, lender fees within 36 months. Okay, so if you save, let's say, $500 a month, which that might be a little extreme right now, but let's say you save $200 a month, within 36 months, you have to be able to recover the cost of doing the loan. And for folks that are like in Florida, where you have to pay transfer taxes and setting up new taxes and insurance, that 36-month recoupment period does not count towards that. Now, the question is, the real good question is that, is this a good time? Saving money is always a good time. But I think the challenge that I look at a lot of these, and there was like I have the numbers right here, actually. Last month, there was 6,580 interest rate reduction refinance loans. Okay. And that's about 2.5 billion people refinance their homes. But a lot of times when I look at these, I would probably hold off just because of the amount of fees they charge, right? So if your recoupment is a full 36 months, that can be kind of tough because you might have an opportunity to maybe get a lower interest rate. So just double check how much you're paying in fees, which is origination fees and discount points. And if you need help reviewing that, in the description is a link to schedule a call. Or if you check out my channel, VA Housing Education, then you could also schedule a call with me and I'll go through it with you. So,
yeah, here's one for you, Jason. I definitely have my opinion on this. I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say on this too, but do you think you should file your claim now or wait a few months from now? And
right.
I assume this is in reference to the administration, the news we're hearing, maybe the changes he's referring to.
Right.
That nature.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different things, right? That we could assume that this is about. The bottom line is there's no better time than now. And actually, one of the best people that I hear talk about it is actually David, talking about how, like, look, it typically doesn't get better as you wait. So do it now. Now, what do it now means doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. Put in your intent to file today. That's what you need to do today. Put in your intent to file. The intent to file is going to preserve today's date as your potential effective date, and it will absolutely use today's date for your schedule of ratings and all that stuff. For those that don't know or don't remember or just need a reminder, there are changes that happen to the VA's rating schedule. So how they rate each one of your conditions, right? Whether it's migraines or your back or sleep apnea, for example, those rating schedules get changed. They are in the process of changing them all. It will happen. They've already changed about half of them. And now what they have proposed, and I believe all 4 of them, Clay, are slotted for August of this year as the final date, which would be neurological, respiratory, auditory, and mental health. Those 4 rating schedules, that's a lot of rating. I'm just saying that that's a lot. The last one that happened was the digestive system rating schedule. It was the only one. So to have 4 that are kind of all bouncing along here, don't think that this is a today thing. These things take time to go through. These were basically, in the process for, I don't know, 3 years now. So it's a process. It might get kicked down the road a little bit longer, but oftentimes it's not going to be favorable. There are some favorable changes, but most of them are not typically favorable. So you're better off to put in an intent to file now, file your claim, get what you get. And oh, by the way, if you're awarded and then it gets better, file for an increase, right? Who cares? It's the other way around that sucks. So that's about the longest. That's the longest I could make that answer, Clay. Back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to take it from the administration perspective, because I do assume a lot of people would have similar questions on that. And I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off here on this one. I don't care who's in the White House or who the VA secretary is or what DOJ is doing. No one is in the nuts and bolts or the meat and potatoes of filing VA claims, okay? I promise you, President Trump does not care about what Jason's rating is or what my rating is. Elon Musk doesn't care. The VA secretary does not care. And I say that to say this. What I would focus on is what can you do, which is submit your evidence-based claim, evidence from service, a current diagnosis, a Nexus Letter, and a DBQ if that's the route you want to go down. That's what I would focus on. I don't care who's in the office, okay? It could be former President Biden. It could be Obama. It could be Kamala Harris. I don't care. If I have a claim to submit, I'm going to submit my VA claim point blank with evidence. And I would really, if you're questioning whether to file because of that reason, I would really just get over it, I guess would be is what I'm trying to say, and submit your evidence-based claim. Now, David, Jason did mention something, and I don't want to blow past that, about there's no better time than now. From your perspective, what does that look like?
Well, from a housing perspective?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's really the same thing, because home values are not just going down, right? They continue to creep up over time, and the thing is, I think people think that there's going to be this insane market crash, prices are going to drop 30%, or they're waiting for rates to be 2% again. The challenge in that is there would have to be such a big economic event for that. It would have to be colossal for that to happen. Then we're going to have much bigger problems. Okay, it's not going to be just like the value of homes. In some areas, yeah, we do see home values drop, but that could just be because maybe people, just be a shifting area, but when on the positive side, right, when we see more new construction, more rehabs coming in, that means that areas transforming and home values are going to go up over time. So, and the longer you wait, again, like right now, like these really winter time right now, maybe the next like month or two, you have a pretty good chance of getting offers accepted before it gets insanely competitive. Right now, it's already competitive. So just kind of taking that first step, even if it's going to be a while out, you're preparing for next December, then just get ready now to do that. But I wanted to ask you guys a question on that VA disability piece. Like, filing that intent gives you exactly 1 year to file that. is there a time where you're like, hey, I'm 11 months,
Mm,
24 days, and I'm like, now I'm gonna submit it. It's a Saturday. I'm like,
right.
like for the people that hesitate, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of them. Like,
Yeah.
what's the last day you could actually file?
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so excited. So and that's such a true thing. All right. So you file your intent to file. Now you're at the last minute. Whatever. Let's not really say the 27th. That's horrible. So let's say you got 2 weeks left and it's not a Saturday, but the writing's on the wall, right? You're now, I mean, you're running and you're at the brick wall. Here's what you do. Whatever you are going to file for, this is gold. Listen to what I'm going to say here, because you need to understand this. Whatever you're going to file for, you have 7 conditions that you're going to file for, but you dropped the ball on 5 and you don't have all of your evidence. You didn't order your service treatment records. You don't have the nexuses in place, whatever it is. Okay. 5 things you already know are just not even going to get approved, but you got 2 that are solid. Feel really good with those. Most people screw up and they file for those 2. Because that's what they have the information for. So they utilize that intent to file for those 2 conditions. Do not do that. File for all 7. Each single condition, you write it down. I'm filing for this. I'm filing for this. I'm filing for this. And you send it. The VA themselves actually say you don't need to supply any evidence with your claim. You just probably won't get approved. But you don't need to, right? They'll try to do their part, whatever, their duty to assist, blah, blah, blah. So the reality is that you're probably going to get denied for those 5 that you didn't have really anything for. But guess what? You had the intent to file in, you filed for those 5, you got denied for those 5. Now you can file a supplemental claim within 1 year of the denial with additional evidence that you forgot to get the first time. And you're preserving that effective date, most likely, for all of those conditions. And now they all get approved. Now you got those 5 plus the other 2 that you already got approved for. So that's what you do with an intent to file. You file for everything that you were possibly going to file for, regardless of evidence. Clay, do you want anything to add? Or do you have anything to add?
No, actually, something just happened, and I'm speechless. We have Janice Fictum here with a $100 donation. I don't know what channel that is too, but I'll tell you this, Janice. Thank you very much. I always feel weird when this happens, especially when it's a substantial amount. But it is a weird feeling where, they're saying thank you for all your wisdom. I'm saying thank you for valuing what we're saying, really, because we're just 3 dudes on the internet, which is insane to just think about. But I do think that this speaks volume on, although it is YouTube and it seems stupid and childish to be on YouTube, the ability to pass information. And what Jason just said is going to save someone. That's going to give someone $40,000, $50,000 in back pay to have a down payment on a home, pay off car, pay off debt. Just little nuggets like that. And then, so Janice, thank you very much. Seriously, I feel weird just even accepting that. But we have PyCon here with a $10 donation. Okay. Thank you very much. Pickin, sorry. Says group that help file tort claims, super, super specific and very rare, just to be clear, against the VA. Regarding negligence after shoulder surgery, they waited almost 4 months to approve physical therapy, and I'm suffering because of it, and my shoulder will never be the same. So I'm not going to give any advice on whether I think your tort claim is valid or not. That is way above my pay grade, okay? But for those of you who don't know, a tort claim is essentially someone who it gives them the power to sue the federal government, and in this case, it's the VA, right, for wrongful healthcare treatment post-surgery. Do I know a group that can help you file a tort claim? Nope. I've never talked to one. I've never researched one. What I would do, though, is really reach out to your big law firm like CCK or Hill & Potton. I would get their advice. I'm sure they have a partnership there with someone. But I will say this, Pickin, really do your research up front, because if you're going to pursue this, you want good, sound, grounded legal representation, because this is no walk in the park, right? You're fighting a very steep uphill battle when it comes to tort claims. So I'm sorry I can't help you out. Jason, do you have anything you want to add to that
Right.
for this one?
Yeah.
Super niche situation.
Yeah, that. So yes, exactly what Clay said. I would also throw out there that you might have multiple conversations with multiple law firms. You'll get a little better about what they're looking for in each conversation that you have. So there's that piece. If you Google search the earplug litigation that happened, right? The 3M lawsuit. It was a mass tort litigation, and you'll see different law firms that were involved with that. You could also contact them and see if that's something that it's in their wheelhouse. But definitely the veterans law firms, and they will have a conversation with you, and they're not going to take it on if they don't think that there's a there. So in those conversations, you'll have to kind of understand what they're looking for, and then you can go back and try to build up your evidence, so to speak, and be able to articulate it in a way that might make sense for the next conversation that you do have. Back to you, Clay.
Yeah. Okay. We have a specific question here from Secret Sauce, longtime fan of the CivDiv. My very first live stream, Jason, which was like, I don't know, seemed forever ago, but about 2.5 years ago, Secret Sauce was on there, asked me questions. And so it's just I can't not answer Secret Sauce's question here. So he says, review due to hospitalization claim for service-connected disability, which is major depressive disorder with alcohol use disorder. He is P&T. Is there a high chance of being reduced? I would actually argue the opposite. Obviously something serious happened. And you absolutely should seek healthcare, by the way, which you are, and you've been hospitalized for MDD with alcohol use disorder. That is hardcore evidence. If anything, an increase to 100% for mental health. And I'm just assuming you're not 100% mental health right now. If you are, then the answer is absolutely no. I wouldn't be worried about being reduced at all. And I think this is a very solid argument to, at a minimum, argue an increase to 70 or an increase to 50. It just depends on where your mental health rating is at. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's solid. That's solid advice.
Yeah. All right. I have a question for David as well. Here we go. Another one from Secret Sauce. He gets a twofer here.
Okay. There we go.
So never owned a home, and this is something I want to talk about as well. I've always rented. Does a VA home loan mean zero down, as in you just pay a mortgage each month? So, David, I want to kind of position this for you.
Yeah. A
lot of veterans, including myself, if I had to buy a home now, I don't know anything about the VA home loan. And we're friends. I have a direct line to David. I can just send him a text. Can you talk to the veteran community and the viewer right now as if they're 5 years old? And I mean that genuinely, on what's the VA home loan? Why is it good? Why should veterans use it? What does that look like for a brand new first-time home buyer?
So we need about 6 hours to go through that, but I'm going to give you guys in a nutshell.
You got like 5 minutes.
In essence, okay, the VA home loan is a phenomenal product because it does allow you to do zero money down, right? You still have to pay closing costs, which average about 2 to 3% of a purchase price. You don't have to pay private mortgage insurance. That's a huge benefit over other loan programs that exist. And in one way, the VA does look out for your interest because they have additional inspections when they do, let's say, an appraisal that other programs don't offer for that. Now, in your monthly payment, you have your mortgage payment, you have your taxes, and you have your insurance payment. Now, some places will let you not escrow, but that's normally if you meet the criteria for not paying property taxes. And that criteria does change widely. And I know there's been some recent updates as well to the just to VA disability property tax breaks across the country. So now, like, we're just seeing all different type of stuff. And so if you want to learn about what the first steps are, benefits in detail, that's what I do on my channel on VA Housing Education. There you can actually get in granular, go to the search feature and just kind of run down anything that you want to learn. And if I don't have it, just shoot me a message and I'll make a video on it, because there's so many aspects of home ownership. And don't disqualify yourself. Reach out. talk to somebody, right? In the description, there's a link to schedule a call with me. You can go to my channel. All my videos have a link to schedule a call with me. Because I just see it too often that it's like veterans that they're like, well, I'm not disabled. I don't need to file VA disability. And there is a real issue, right? Maybe a spouse who knows like, hey, there is something, but you're just not doing anything about it. Don't let that happen to you with this amazing benefit, because home ownership creates stability, right? We all have different reasons for what we do, right? We all are homeowners here on the channel, but not everyone that's listening is one. And it doesn't mean that it's right for you right now, right? But it's a life benefit. And we have people that come to us, 80 years old, using the VA loan for the first time. Yes, getting a 30-year mortgage. It's okay. There's no age discrimination. It's a life benefit. You can use it at any time. So,
yeah. And what I wanted to add, and then we'll go on to, we have a few more super chats that popped up.
Yep.
I firmly believe and sincerely believe that disabled veterans, we know Secret Solace is a disabled veteran from his previous question, should absolutely be a homeowner in the United States of America, right? Like that should be point blank available, which it absolutely is Secret Solace. So I think if you're in the position to do that, you might want to consider it. And I assume that's also why you asked about your decrease, because if you're going into home ownership, losing that would be detrimental, but you are totally safe, at least from my perspective here. Okay, I'm going to punt this one to you, Jason, if that's cool. Marcus says, I'm looking at a Medboard. I have several conditions in my medical record. Will I have to submit a Nexus, or is there anything I should make sure I do for my claims? I definitely have my 2 cents on this one, but I'm going to get yours first.
All right. So like all of this stuff, there is so many different versions and different things that you could say that you could really spend a lot of time here, really unpacking it. So I'm going to do my best to be concise here and just kind of a little more narrow. Going through the Medboard process means that you're still in. Anything that you get diagnosed for is already creating the nexus. It's time-stamped during your time in service. You're good to go. This is what oftentimes will happen. You're going to be, I don't know where you're at in the process, but oftentimes what happens is you're going to be offered either IDES or LDES. IDES is the Integrated Disability Evaluation System. LDES is the legacy, the old version disability evaluation system. If you go through LDES, the legacy, they're not going to file a claim for you with the VA. They're not going to help you with any of that. They're just out processing you based on your disabilities on the DOD side. If you choose IDES, the Integrated Disability Evaluation System, which most people do nowadays, where they are going to help you file your claim. Typically, what I have seen in this world is the person that's helping you to file the claim with the VA is hyper-focused on the conditions that are getting you out of service. You may have other conditions that wouldn't necessarily get you out of service for disability, and they're going to kind of forget those, and they're not going to file those, and they're not really going to talk to you about those, and they're not really going to be doing you any favors in that way, unless you get somebody good. It's a people business, right? Like if I worked there or if Clay worked there, we would be having that conversation and dialing it in, but not everybody thinks that way. So you need to care about it more than anybody. What I would do if I were going through the Medboard process for X conditions, I would also, and Clay and I both say the same thing, have that internal and external head to toe. What do I have going on with me? Do I have migraines? Do I have back pain? Do I have painful swollen joints? Do I have whatever I have, right? Sleep apnea, whatever. Do I think I might have sleep apnea? Do I get yelled? Do boots get thrown at me because I snore a lot, right? Go get tested for everything, because now is the time. Anything that you get diagnosed for now while you're still in service is going to be really service connectable. Get it done now while you are in the most prime position. Most of us get out and it's not till years later that we go, well, damn, if I would have known, I would have actually went. But now that you're in this process, get diagnosed for everything. Try to get them to file everything for you. If they don't, be prepared to refile a claim. Now, you're probably going to get it decided within the 12 months of getting out. If you file your other claim within that, they should back pay you to your date of discharge, the day after your discharge anyway. It's a lot. That's the condensed version. Look out for yourself. Get diagnosed for everything. That's got to be your primary focus. Try to get them to file things for you. If they don't, then you need to pick up the ball after. Clay, anything to add?
Yeah, double down on everything that you said. And what I would add to Medboards is I describe Medboards as the best place and the worst place to be in at the same time. Worst place because it's a DoD Medboard, right? Now, to my understanding, there's a time frame with that, and the DoD has gotten a lot better with that. You're going to get that NARSM, and that's essentially you looking out for you. You only have one chance to fight the DoD side. The reason why it's the best place is because it's like this melting of VA C&P exams that are going to happen during the Medboard. And so you can almost guarantee you're going to have your rating, I would say within a month of leaving service for Medboards, for current Medboards as of like 2 years ago. Okay. So it's that weird best place and worst place, but yes, absolutely looking out for yourself. And if you're going to submit a claim, it needs to be during that process. We have a few super chats to get through. So first off, we have a super sticker. All right. StreamYard doesn't let me show the sticker, but I'm sure it is someone dancing or doing the hula hoop or something wild like that. Thank you very much, Charles. We definitely appreciate that. Now, this person has 2, which is insane. Thank you. As whatever, I'm going to say 99. Okay. So 99 says, thank you for providing me with wisdom. Thank you. 1. I already filed for a lot of conditions, especially sleep apnea. I'm diagnosed by the VA for obstructive sleep apnea 7 years ago. I will receive Nexus letters and 4 buddy letter for sleep apnea. Wish me luck. I'm wishing you all the luck. Okay. It sounds like you submitted an evidence-based claim, which out the gate sounds pretty solid. And then, oh, dude, you don't have to say the same thing twice. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. I probably assumed they did it on like my channel and Jason's channel as well.
Or David's.
So, yeah. Or David's. Yeah. Thank you very much for that one.
I have fans as well. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for just by people donating it. I think it says a lot about what we're doing here. Secret Sauce says, thank you very much for answering my questions, Clay. Yeah, he said thank you to me, not to Jason. No, I'm kidding. That eased some anxiety. Yeah, dude, you're gonna be safe. Okay. By the way, I'm 70% for MDD with alcohol use disorder. I went through rehab at the VA. I was worried because I've never heard of a review due to hospitalization. You have the evidence backed, man. And again, they may even look at 100%. And if you do reach 100% for mental health alone, that's going to open up the door for SMCs. So keep that in mind. All right. Ron Nell says, what happens if you die and you have a VA home loan? That's a great question because I also don't know this. David, if I were to die right now, what happens?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but you can put a VA loan in a trust, right? And that's something that even the VA encourages. Like I reached out to them because I own a place. I'm like, and I didn't realize this up until like a couple months ago where I'm like, hey, I want to figure out for my life estate planning purpose, because you can't buy a VA home loan in a trust, but you can put a VA loan in a trust, and you still get to keep your VA disability property tax exemption on there. Okay, so a couple of things that happen when you purchase a property, and this is why also planning is so important into the future. Is that one, if you use the VA home loan benefit and you're the one on the mortgage, but your spouse is on the title, lenders technically can still foreclose on that house. Okay. Now, if you are let's say it's just you bought the home yourself, you're single, you passed away. Normally what would happen is they would hopefully reach out to the next of kin, or if the house goes into foreclosure, they sell the house, then proceeds would probably go to the next of kin, right? There'd be like a whole probate piece that you have to go to for that process. Husband and wife, let's say spouse, let's say the wife is the veteran, the husband is the spouse. If the spouse is not on the title but on the mortgage company can technically foreclose. That's why it's so important that you can't, you should create a trust where that way, if something happens to the veteran with the benefits on that property, then the bank doesn't know, the VA doesn't necessarily know. You just continue making payments on that property. And the other piece is it's one way that you can technically pass that loan for that specific property down to your kids as long as they keep making payments and then pay off that property. So you have big advantages to do something like that. But if you don't do it and then just goes to probate, that's what normally would happen. It's a drawn out, expensive process. So it also just kind of adds to the simplicity of it. Now, you do have to think of a lot of things ahead of time, like how do you want things dispersed? So some people don't want to think about, obviously, Ron wants to think about dying, but a lot of people don't want to think about dying, right? They just, but you should think about it because it is such a big, just a huge component of your life because it's one of the biggest payments you have. I'm assuming you don't have like a $3,000 car payment and a $3,000 mortgage. That wouldn't be a good situation to be in, number one, okay? Unless you just got so much money you don't know what to do with it, then just hit us up and we can help you spend it. So with that home, you just want to be able to position yourself in a way that down the line you don't put yourself in a jam. And there's also like insurance programs you can get that if you pass away, it pays off the house. So that's a better way, but it depends on your age and how much it costs. There are options out there for that.
You know,
Awesome.
I want to throw something out there real quick, and it'll be fairly quick while you find more things there, Clay. Just because we're talking about passing away, right? So as a veteran who passes away, your surviving spouse could obtain dependency indemnity compensation. The veteran does not have to be 100% rated for a spouse to receive dependency indemnity compensation. Now, there's two versions here. This isn't what this video is all about, but I just want to kind of give you some thoughts here. One version is if the veteran is 100% and they've been 100% for 10 years, they could pass away from anything. It doesn't matter. Walk out into the street, get hit by a bus. The surviving spouse can get dependency indemnity compensation. Pays out. The base rate's about $1,600, a little over that. But with various different add-ons, it can get up over $3,000 a month, tax-free money. If the veteran is 10% rated, we'll just say for hypertension, 10% rating, hypertension, passes away from a heart attack. On the death certificate, this is important. On the death certificate, there's two spots: cause of death, contributing cause of death. If hypertension, the service-connected 10%, is on there as a contributing cause to death of heart attack, the surviving spouse should be able to get that dependency indemnity compensation and be able to carry that on. So just an important kind of side piece for all of us to understand what's out there, because look, veterans barely know what benefits we have. Imagine the surviving spouse. Nothing. Clay.
All right. No,
And
absolutely solid.
add to that,
For sure.
with that indemnity compensation, then the spouse can qualify to use the V loan. That's an important one. So surviving spouses can, and I have a whole video on that as well.
Wow. See, I mean, there's just so much. It's unbelievable how much is out there.
Yeah. Don't tell my spouse that, because I actually might magically die tomorrow, Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Jazz Wind 011. Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate that. Chasing Tone donates and just says, thank you. God bless you, brothers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
James Brooks gives 5 Veterans Info Tap memberships. There you go. All right. That's cool. I'm not really sure what that means, but hey, that's cool. Jazz Wind again, another $5, dude. Whoa. No reason to do that, but thank you very much. Bill has a super chat for $20. I went and searched, and I think this was the comment that you were trying to super chat. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. I recently filed a supplemental claim. I paid Dr. Sharma for a DBQ, Nexus, and medical opinion. What have you seen lately as a turnaround on a fully developed supplemental claim? Okay. The answer is there is zero rhyme or reason for timetables on claims. Okay, I don't care what type of claim it is, in this case supplemental, or if you submitted evidence with that or not. Okay, that goes for every type of claim. However, assuming you get a solid adjudicator and the process is working in your favor, I have seen fully developed supplemental claims, specifically fully developed supplemental claims with an IMO and a DBQ. IMO is independent medical opinion or Nexus Letter, turn around anywhere from 8 days to 20 days to 6 months. All right. And so it really depends on the situation that you're in, what your evidence is, and if anything was missed. So let's just say, for instance, you gave Dr. Sharma your VA medical records, but not your service treatment records. Okay. And maybe there was some evidence in your service treatment records that wasn't accounted for. That would be a reason to slow down the process, order a CMP exam, and double tap that. There's a billion scenarios that can come out of that. But that's probably the most common reason I see for complete Nexus letters and DBQs. But all in all, it should be a lot faster, especially with supplemental claims. But again, it could be tomorrow. It could be in 6 months. Do you have anything to add for this? Because I think a lot of veterans find themselves in this area, whether they're using AME, Jason, or they're using some other sort of platform.
At the end of the day, right, it's evidence. And I'll tell you what, the biggest problem that most of us have is we don't have solid Nexus evidence in our service treatment records, right? So don't get Nexus and Nexus letter confused. They're two separate things. A Nexus is absolutely required. A Nexus letter is not. If you have a diagnosis in service, your Nexus is taken care of because the date is within your time frame of service. If you get out and you wait 5 years, 10 years, 30 years before you get diagnosed, well, now you got to build a bridge back to your time in service. This is where a Nexus letter, for example, is essential. You need medical evidence to build that bridge back to show the only exception here would be presumptives, right? So excluding presumptives, a Nexus letter is needed, worth its weight in gold, in my opinion. And the other thing that I'll say is DBQs. There's always a lot of conversation around DBQs, disability questionnaires. There was legislation that got passed back in December that allows, for those that don't know, that allows the VA to actually remove public-facing DBQs from their website. Right now, if you Google search VA DBQs, it should show up and you should see them, but they could take them away. They did this before, probably, I don't remember, four or 5 years ago. The VA actually removed them, and all the veteran service organizations, the veteran service officers, all the national associate, all that stuff threw a fit, and they put them back on. But DBQs, disability questionnaires, what they do for you really is they help you get the appropriate rating. It outlines everything, and I'll tell you this, and then I'll give it back to you, Clay. The easier you make your claim to be understood as far as Nexus evidence, where you should be rated, Nexus letter, DBQ, any evidence, the easier you make it for a rater to flip through and see and understand, and you utilize their forms and their
I'm going to go ahead and take. Okay, never mind.
The better.
Good, Jason.
All right, the better. So take advantage of appropriately completing your package. A fully developed claim, evidence-based claim, like Clay says, will make your claim move faster. Back to you, Clay.
Yes. Let's go ahead and run 2 more questions. I assume that would hit the hour. If it doesn't, we'll just keep adding on to that. I do have a question for both of you, actually. I know both of you are well-versed in this specific VASP home mortgage program thing. David, you first.
Okay.
Under VASP home mortgage, is it 2.5%? And talk to me like I'm 30. I don't know what VASP is.
So the VASP program is a program that VA rolled out thanks to its own mistake of
yes.
So back during COVID, they try to help veterans by letting them delay making their mortgage payments like up to 12 months, right? And the idea was that, hey, at the end of these 12 months, they would take that money, put it on the back of the mortgage, veteran just goes back making their regular mortgage payment, right? 12 months later, it comes about, and then lenders are like, no, you have to pay us everything you missed, plus you have to make your normal payments. Well, guess what? Most people just didn't have 12 months of money hanging out, so they started to go into the foreclosure process, right? So the VA, it's been trying to do this for years. I still, Jason, haven't seen much movement on this. And I did a video like in January, record number of veterans going into foreclosure because of this. Because of what happened during this time during COVID,
Yeah.
and not fixing it. So
Right.
the VA itself said that they're going to service these mortgages, right? So they're going to buy this debt off the lenders, and then they're going to service it at 2.5% interest rate. Now the crazy part is that I can't call, because I have people ask me all the time, like, hey, I want the 2.5% too. I'm going to call the VA and ask for it. You can't, right? One, you have to be in default. Two, you still have to be able to make your payments. And if you could make the payments at the normal rate, they're not going to just be like, oh, you just stopped making payments because you wanted this program. That's not how it works. And please do not think that, okay? You're going to have to, lender has to make a recommendation for you. Now, I recently talked to one person out of thousands that was like they talked to me and their home was accepted, or the lender recommended them for that program. So I haven't really seen too much around it, but that's very specific to that group of individuals.
Right. Yeah. And I'm just going to kind of recap that and go in there a little bit more. So the VASP program, which is the Veterans Affairs Servicing Program, which alludes to the fact that they are going to service the loan. So now you'd make your payments to the VA. So they basically buy it from the lender. Now, the whole idea that this was a self-fulfilling prophecy in a weird way, the VA really did drop the ball, and it was a horrendous problem. But now what you're looking at is it's really the last resort. You absolutely have to work with whoever your servicer is, not who did your loan, who you're making your payments to, right? A lot of times these loans get sold off. So make sure that you contact whoever your mortgage statement is, have a conversation with them. They're going to offer you different things. You're going to go through this process with them about potentially modifying your loan or whatever else they can do. And the VA themselves has said, this is the last resort in the options waterfall or something like that is the verbiage they looked or they used. So the only person that can, or the only entity that can refer you for this is actually the servicer. Like David said, it's that mortgage company. You can't call and ask or apply for it. It is that mortgage company, servicer, whoever you're making your payments to, essentially will apply for you and get that ball rolling. Now, you can reach out to the VA if you feel like you're getting the runaround and have a conversation with them, and then they're probably just going to call your servicer and then try to figure out where you're disconnecting with them. And you can call them at 877-827-3702. But again, it is definitely the very last resort.
Yes, we've had a lot of action in the background. Okay, first off, Mike G, insane, dude. Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate that. Yeah, again, I always feel weird when that happens, but it does indicate that what we're doing here actually matters. Like, veterans are actually submitting evidence-based claims. They're getting their deserved ratings. They're taking advantage of the VA home loan. It's just wild that my channel, Jason's channel, and David's channel has that kind of impact. So thank you very much, Mike G. We thank you a lot for that. Now, gorgeous disaster. Okay, I did not think I was going to get that one. I feel that I should be applauded for that. It says, how do you locate fellow teammates from 30, 50 years ago if you can't locate them? Yes, there is a VA Buddy Finder website. I just did some Googling. I just posted that as a comment below here. Okay, so make sure you're in the comment section. I'm actually going to put it, I don't know what channel you're on, so I can actually post it on all of ours. There we go. So that link is going to be on every channel. Okay. But basically use that link. It's a VA news link, and it's going to have a Together We Served website, something like that. Yep. And assuming you can find your person through that would be great. If not, I would use social media, honestly. And maybe now you're talking 30, 50 years ago, so you're probably Jason's age or older. That was a slight joke
Which
there.
is true.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
look at last names, look at family names, try and find, children, grandchildren that live in the area, and that might be like that's what I would do without doing anything illegal, right? Anyways, the open source internet, you can find anyone. You just have to really, really be intentional about that. Now we've had a few more super chats here. We have another. Okay, all right, we'll get to this. They just keep coming. All right, since I submitted an intent to file before the VA rating criteria change, if my claim for sleep apnea is denied, I'd file a submittal claim. Would I still fall under the old VA rating? Jason, take this, and then I'll probably add on to that.
Yeah, so you're preserving when you file a claim or put in an intent to file, right? Either thing is solidifying a date. Whatever date that is, whatever rating schedule is in effect at that time. Yes, this is very important because veterans are good at a few things, and one of them is missing dates. It's like, you get denied, and the first thing we do is throw the paper in the air, get irritated, flip the bird to the VA, and then walk out the door and forget about it. And then we forget to revisit it, and we forget to file that supplemental. So make sure that you file that supplemental claim within the time frame because you're preserving that effective date. Look, when we talk about claims and we talk about intent to files and then subsequently filing a supplemental claim or a higher level review or whatever, we're usually talking about, for most people, we think about the money aspect, preserving that back pay. But it's also preserving all of the rating schedules, everything else that's in effect there. And you bring up a good point, and why we're talking about this is because it's for sleep apnea. For those that don't know, the rating schedule change for sleep apnea that's proposed to go as a final date in August is horrendous. If you have sleep apnea today and you're prescribed a CPAP, for example, you're 50%, no questions asked. But if you fast forward and the new rating schedule takes effect as written, sleep apnea with a prescribed CPAP that is working adequately for you, you get a 0. Huge swing. Totally disagree with a swing that big. I think that it's just too much. But I mean, I'm not a medical professional or anything. I'm just looking out for vets. So with that, go ahead and add anything on there, Clay.
Yeah, so since it's a supplemental claim, there's another critical aspect to that as well, which is a diagnosis. Now, if we're talking sleep apnea, I assume you have the diagnosis for sleep apnea because it's going to require a sleep study. But I think we should talk about like tinnitus changes, mental health, and the neurological. Because it's a supplemental, if the diagnosis is not established, clinical diagnosis, should I say, that does give the VA power to change the effective date. And then you could see how that would be bad if the diagnosis was post changes versus a diagnosis pre-change, specifically with the supplemental claim. But yeah, the intent to file is, I would say, the most overlooked, most unnoticed benefit that veterans have. It's the VA saying, hey, here's a year to get your stuff straight.
Yep.
And it's makes me angry.
And you know what?
Straight. Yeah, go ahead.
And let's just do a quick reminder here. If you get an unfavorable decision from the VA, okay, you filed your claim, unfavorable decision, you have choices, right? You have 3 choices that you can do. You could file a higher level review, you can file a supplemental claim, or you can just push it straight to the board. I'm a fan of the first 2 over just straight to the board because it's just the time frame aspect. Keep that as just in your back pocket. Higher level review, you cannot submit anything extra. You know that the VA has everything they need. They just missed something. Supplemental claim allows you to give them additional evidence for your claim. Read through your decision letter and find out exactly why they denied your claim or gave you an unfavorable rating. Find out why so you can double down or you can go find the evidence you need to really get them to rule in your favor. And it typically, Clay, would you agree that the two reasons why somebody has an unfavorable claim would be, one, they didn't have a diagnosis, or maybe it's unfavorable because it got a really low percentage, right? I got a 0%. This is ridiculous. I should be 50. I know 17 people that have exactly the same issue that I do, and they're rated at 50, and I got a 0. So you got service connected, but maybe you're missing some real clear evidence on the severity, right? Where a DBQ would come in handy. Would you say those are kind of the two reasons why people get unfavorable conditions? Is there anything unfavorable decisions? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, the current diagnosis is by far the most common, because for the most part, veterans do submit claims for what they've been seen for. The only other common reason I'll add is whenever veterans submit claims and they weren't seen for it in service, and they just kind of, I'm submitting claims, so I'm going to submit these 20 things because you two told me so. There's a lack of evidence in service, and so it's the combination of the lack of evidence in service and the current diagnosis. But on that note, the current diagnosis is easy to fight because you just go get diagnosed, assuming you have or you can be diagnosed, versus evidence from service. There is no going back in time, right? We have to get through 2 more. I do want to highlight Victor. We're going to come back to you, okay? So Janice Fictum here donated another 50 on top of the 100. So I don't even know, like, what do you want? Like what can I give you to just make this amends? But hey, we definitely appreciate it. All right, since I need a recommendation for a Q claim and a bunch more, it's a lot of work to do myself. This I do have a recommendation on, and I'm not putting shade or dirt on the big law firms like CCK and Hill and Potton, but generally speaking, I'm going to be a fan of the small law firm, like the mom and pop law firm, who really is personally invested in your claim. 1, because business, and 2, because they just don't have that many clients. That's like a huge law firm. So if you're asking me, my advice is going to be go to a small law firm. I am going to make a recommendation on that one. There's no partnership here, in case anyone's wondering. It's Andy Gross, okay? Andy Gross, VA lawyer. You're going to have to Google him. It's like VA Guide on Law, or I forgot what his business model is. That too, I would recommend just because I know him personally. He's a small law firm. Can you go to a large law firm? Absolutely. Just know you're going to get large law firm customer service as well on that one. Jason, have you ever dealt with Qs at all? Oh, one thing I will say, I highly recommend a lawyer for a Q, because you're battling VA law at that point. You're way beyond claim stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I'll double tap on that. So Qs are typically going to be your kind of last resort, ditch effort. They screwed up somewhere. It really does take legal argument to really get in there, as well as, just tremendous evidence in your favor. It's not impossible, but I definitely would also recommend an attorney that I'm aware of out there as well is Sean Kendall. I've spoken with him many times. He's not one of the huge ones. Good guy over there, smaller team, and really wants to do good things for veterans. So Sean Kendall would be the one that I would recommend as well. Have a conversation with them, and whatever one kind of fits you, right? You want to work with somebody that you feel comfortable with and that makes sense. So that's that.
I do want to add this too. Qs are a one-time go. So if you're not prepared, you're putting all your chips on yourself, which is fine. But
it's different than everything else.
I always say this: divorce or family attorneys get family attorneys when they go through a divorce, right? So you should absolutely consider this one. This will be the last question we answer here, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. VA approved my depression and migraine claim, but diagnosed me with sleep apnea, but disapproved my claim because of my weight. Should I file again? It depends, right? So you were denied because of obesity. This is actually a topic I love talking about because the VA is going to use competing evidence against you. And I think many veterans just completely disregard that until they're denied, like in this case here. And so what you need to do, Victor, is because your weight gain has been heavily correlated, not has been, it is heavily correlated with sleep apnea, you're going to have to show the argument that your weight gain either came directly from service or a service-connected disability. So let's say you're on medication for depression, which causes weight gain, and a lot of them do. Let's say you have, prostrating migraines at 50%, and your ability to work out and diet correctly is just very difficult, right? A month, not a big deal. 6 years of that is going to be a big deal. And so you're going to have to find somehow, some way to get your weight gained service connected, if you will, or recognized by the VA to use that as an intermediate step. I think we end it there. David, I'd like to hand the floor to you real quick. Any last thoughts you want to share? How can people reach out to you? What does that look like for them?
Yeah, I just leave you guys with this, that if never deny yourself, always reach out. Even if you're just thinking about going into this journey, it's better to prepare ahead of time. Just like with your VA disability, research is key, and talking to the right people so you can set yourself up for success. Yes, you can check out the channel VA Housing Education on YouTube or in the description down below. Got a ton of videos around pretty much any aspect of the homeownership process. So thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Jason, I'll see you later.
Yeah, have a good one.